Well, hello, welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us today as we continue our chronological read through of the Bible. When we last got together, we began reading about God's judgment against the various nations that had oppressed Judah or that had been overly zealous in carrying out the Lord's discipline on Judah. Today, we're going to continue with the Ammonites. Like the Moabites, the Ammonites were descendants of Lot, Abraham's nephew. Therefore, they were relatives of God's people. Actually, God had forbidden Israel from taking any land from the Ammonites, though the Ammonites were at one point subjected to Israel, in particular during the time of King David. They never actually lost any of their land to Israel. The Ammonites also are going to resist the eventual attempt to rebuild the temple. Um, when Israel or when Judah is released from Babylon to come back and rebuild the temple, the Ammonites resist that. God declares his judgment, God declares their destruction, but God also declares that one day they will be restored. The Edomites, they're descendants of Esau. Their land is not fertile, so they're primarily shepherds. Um, they do not control. They're primarily shepherds, but they also control a major trade route. Edom largely lived in Israel's shadow, but and it kind of escaped the destruction that was going on in that whole area um, by Nebuchadnezzar and others and so on. But the Lord has declared that eventually Edom's destruction will come. Damascus is the present day capital of Syria. Actually, it's one of the oldest cities in the Middle East. For a time, it was subject to King David, but it's largely been independent over its history until it fell to Nebuchadnezzar. And after falling to Nebuchadnezzar, it virtually disappeared from history for a very long time before it came back again. Kedar and Hazor, they're small Bedouin settlements, almost surprised that they would even be mentioned. They're just little hamlets. Their people are descendants of Isaac's half brother Ishmael. They allied themselves with Judah against Babylon. That's the problem, right? Because God had told Judah not to resist Babylon. Well, Kedar and Hazor um, allied themselves with Judah in this process, and because of that, their because of that, their settlements would share then in Judah's defeat. Elam, it's located in what's presently Iran. They allied themselves with Judah against Babylon as well. Oh, Elam also was destroyed for her part in aiding and abetting Judah's defiance of the Lord. Though we should note that God allows that he will one day restore Elam's fortune. Most of the words in Jeremiah in these various oracles against the nations, most of the words are reserved for Babylon. Indeed, we're only going to begin to read God's oracle against her today. We'll need to finish it tomorrow. Babylon was the agent of God's wrath against Judah, but she was overzealous. She executed his judgment and then some. So now she comes under judgment herself. Even as God speaks words of judgment against Babylon, judgment and destruction against Babylon, notice how he speaks of the restoration of Judah as he's going, as he speaks against Babylon herself. Well, as always, may God be with you and bless your time. I pray that this is helpful, maybe getting an idea who some of these different peoples are and how they fit into things. Some people were condemned for their defiance or their overzealousness or their persecution of Israel of Judah. Others for aiding and abetting Judah as she defied the Lord. But hopefully, this helps you to kind of piece these things together a little bit better. I look forward to gathering with you again as we continue, and actually, next time we'll conclude the book of Jeremiah.